Okay. Okay. All right. Well, just before before we go here, just before the weekend begins, just want to make sure I took a moment to recognize the families and the veterans, all the active military that'll be reflecting throughout the next few days on family members, fellow soldiers that obviously made the ultimate sacrifice. I think Memorial Day weekend for some is a time of family gatherings, cookouts, kind of the start of summer, but we shouldn't forget the real purpose behind the holiday. And I've been very fortunate over the last, several years to build some great relationships with members of the military, both past and present, and their families. And I personally will be thinking of them in the next coming days and always. So, okay. Any questions?
I guess let's just go right here since you were talking about veterans. What's your stance and what's going to be your policy on the anthem?
Yeah, the anthem, obviously the owners' meeting is going on right now. I have not had a chance to sit down with Mrs. Ford or Rod and talk about that yet. So right now we're just focused on today, practice, trying to make sure we go out today and have a good practice. And, I'm sure we'll have a discussion internally and handle that when the time's appropriate.
What's your personal opinion?
Again, right now I'm just really worried about practice. That's my kind of main focus right now as far as what we got to take care of. So hopefully we go out there today and have a good day and try to build here. It's only our third day on the field, so really trying to improve and build some consistency over what we're trying to do here through OTAs. And again, it's exciting because it's the first time that the team is on the field together, so we obviously get a full practice and get an opportunity to go through individual drills and then take it to the group periods and then build those through the team periods. And, hopefully improve, take it from the classroom to the field and see if we can kind of problem solve and understand conceptually the things that we're trying to get done and work together at a good tempo that's conducive for learning. That's the real important fact right now. So that's what we're trying to get done.
These first few practices that you've seen already, what have you seen from your team and what sort of biz do you have going forward through the rest of this season?
Good question. I think right now, obviously it's so early, but I think what I like is there's this group, they work really hard, they hustle, they run around on the field, they're really energetic. They definitely are trying to learn at a big picture level, from a full concept standpoint of what we're trying to do. There's a lot of situational football that's involved with what we're doing right now. So kind of that whole mental situational part of the game, which is critical. I think that's been great. But like I said, they just really very active, run to the ball, do a good job with the fundamentals, and that's what we're trying to teach them right now from that standpoint, but just a great job of kind of finishing those types of plays. That's what we're looking for, which has been good, really good.
What have been your early impressions of Frank Ragnow?
Yeah, Frank, he's kind of been, thrown in there with the rest of the group and trying to learn. I think with all young players, that come in and have been here for a really short amount of time right now, I would say it's kind of a whirlwind for them, spinning a little bit as far as all the information. But I think he's done a great job. He comes and he works extremely hard. As of, all the rookies that have been in here and the vets out on the field together, it's really, what's good, I think, is when you see and you go out and you practice and you don't particularly maybe notice that there's a guy that is either a young player or not, and just kind of fits in with the group and goes and plays. And you're not really looking at it saying, oh, that's out of place. Like it looks like it's out of place. I haven't noticed that at all.
Pictures of him at left guard in video. Can you just explain why you're using him the way you are now in practice, and if you've made any decision on his position?
Sure. No, definitely no decisions. We're obviously trying to put everybody in a bunch of different positions. You'll see guys all over the place today in a bunch of, maybe positions they didn't play in the past or what, theoretically on paper it says that they should play. But that's the part of it that's good right now is, we're not in a game plan mode. We're just kind of in a learning mode, in a fundamental mode. So, we're just trying to see how much they can all handle in different spots.
Coach, with your defensive background, your take on the helmet rule, and how are you going to coach that in anticipation of the upcoming season?
Sure. I would say just in general with that, and I've been involved with those conversations and just trying to understand, all the data and the background and the research, and obviously putting us as coaches in a position where we're making sure that we're teaching everything properly. And I think that's really just the bottom line. We're trying to make the game as safe as possible. We're trying to make sure that the players are, using the fundamental proper techniques to protect themselves, as far as that's concerned. And we're having great discussion about it, to be honest with you, as far as trying to, how do we teach it? How do we implement it? How do we show them? There's a lot of things from that standpoint too. So I'm definitely going to try to do everything I can to make sure they understand what is safe position to be in. Because ultimately, I mean, to be honest with you, the bottom line is I just want all these guys healthy and safe. And that's all that matters in the end. So just try to educate it as much as possible. And there's a whole education process that has to go on for us too. And that's what we're trying to do right now.
Yeah, Bob Quinn said in his post-draft presser that Sunday night, I believe it was, that he wanted a tougher team that can compete. And he mentioned 4 or 5 categories, short yards and all that he wants the team to be better. How do you start implementing that in this phase where there's no contact?
Sure. I definitely think you can implement the toughness of your team and the importance of what we're doing. And there's certainly a proper way to practice where, we're not in pads. So obviously the contact part of it's not there, but we have to learn and understand the importance of those situations and how we're going to handle them and how we're going to approach them. And we want to get that done now so that when you have the opportunity to go out there in training camp, when the pads actually come on, you're not wasting the time explaining what the situation is or explaining what the techniques are or explaining what we're trying to do from a philosophical standpoint. You can just go out and run it and get it at, as close to full speed as you can. So there's the whole education part of it that has to come first.
And has there been anything that, when you've been installing this defense for the first time, that surprised you that maybe you weren't expecting about this group? Or about what you installed?
Yeah, I would say just in general, as far as what we're trying to install, a lot of it's real basic, fundamental stuff. That's all we're really focused on. There's not a lot of big picture concepts. It's hard to say that, whatever we've been doing from a scheme standpoint, wherever we were, at the end of the season last year to try to jump right in right now is, it's really unrealistic. So for the most part, it's just the terminology. I would say the vernacular part of learning a playbook or learning a new system or learning a different system is the biggest challenge. And sometimes that's just trying to relate maybe the terminology that or you've had. It's like learning a language, right? And you got to try to relate it to what the new language is. And I think that's just been, the part that we're trying to focus on right now. And to be honest with you, the guys have been great. They really have been able to kind of transfer that information into the new terminology.
You were close to Brady and seen him work the last 10 years or so. Now you got Stafford. You've seen the last few days working now. Any similarities? And I'm not talking about the physical stuff,
sure.
But the mental stuff, and there's the stuff that you like Stafford to be more Brady-like.
Yeah, I never, compare guys. That's not really fair. Tom, wonderful, unbelievable player, human being, everything. Love the guy to death. Stafford's phenomenal. He's work hard, tough, smart, and what's great is when you have quarterbacks like that where you can go out and look. Rudock and Matt Castle are the same guys, and you're going out and you're having football conversations. You're not really, having to always explain everything from a. Let me draw this up for you and show you what I'm talking about. If you can just have the conversation, say, hey, if this guy is here, or this leverage is played like this, or the DB is in this position, or, the front looks like this, and just for them to be able to visually have those conversations with you, that's what's great. That's when you got guys that are really dialed in. And Matthew's unbelievable. Like, he loves this game. Like, he loves football, loves to practice. He loves to prepare. He wants to know as much information as possible, not only scheme-wise. He wants to know it from, the players, as far as the guys that are around him, the guys on the other side of the ball, different things that, I think for me, which is fun to be able to talk to him about, is like, okay, there's a little bit of a chess game that happens offensively and defensively through some of the positions. And I think from that standpoint, I'm looking at him saying, okay, well, I'm seeing this, or you're doing this, what are you seeing from this position, and how do you view that? And I think that's all part of the growth of the education of it, which is great. It's a lot of fun when you can do that out on the field.
More questions, Coach? I know Bob had said, that you guys wanted to get to know, or you wanted to get to know, you wanted to give you time to get to know some of your pending free agents, I guess, before, contract talks took off. I just wanted you to get your first impressions on Ziggy, honestly, now that you've been around him for a couple of weeks.
Sure. Ziggy was actually probably one of the first guys I met when I got here. He's been great, really hardworking, kind of just dialed in, very focused. He can be quiet at times, which is, is fine. But to be honest with you, he's really into everything right now. He's really trying to learn at a high pace, very professional, very much so trying to perfect his craft and what he does and learn to do some of the things that we're doing that may be a little bit different. But, he's been great.
One more rules question for you, the kickoff rule. Any sense for how that might change your strategy, I guess, on either side of the ball?
Yeah, I think in general it's going to change a lot, just fundamentally from a scheme standpoint and what the teams are obviously allowed to do, the alignments. There's certainly some different, we'll call them dangers that are going to show up that I think all of them aren't really identified yet until, all of the coaches kind of put their heads together and say, hey, this is a way for us to attack here, or there might be an area here that we can go after. It'll be interesting to see, just exactly how teams approach the rule and if they're trying to force guys to return kicks or not, or, pin them back and kind of use the field position battle there. There'll be a lot of things to think about from a standpoint of, are you playing inside? Are you playing outside? Are you playing at high altitude where the ball's going to travel farther, or you can hang it up higher? There'll be all those strategic things that come into effect. It'll just be a little bit different because of the, obviously, alignments where everybody's in. So we'll have to see how that goes. We're, on it, experimenting with it, taking a look at it, trying to scheme it up, and then try to really problem solve it. That's the biggest thing right now in all of those situations where something like that changes. The more you can problem solve on it and try to identify what might happen or what might teams do here and kind of cover that ahead of time, then you can react quicker in the situation when it comes up.
Matt, I wanted to ask you just about the last couple of weeks. How has it been for you and just the reaction to the league statement too on Monday? Is there anything,
my focus right now is just the team. The team has been great. We've been on at practice and, trying to get better. I think they're trying to get used to me and, what we're doing from a scheme standpoint and from a practice standpoint. So, this is the best part. We finally get the team out there on the field and kind of get them working together and, allow them to communicate and start to grow. The football team, as you build that, is a process, and it's a kind of a thing that happens through the course of the spring, and then you get into training camp, you build a little bit more, you get to the early part of the season, through September, you grow a little bit more, and then, you push for that Thanksgiving date, and then hopefully you're playing your best football from Thanksgiving on. So it's really been good from that standpoint, just to get everybody out there and actually be able to do some football things, wear a whistle, yell and scream a little bit at them and get them going. So that's probably the best part. So appreciate it, though. Thanks very much. Okay? All right.